Hey everyone, I'm Liz Fairy and today I'm going to show you how I made these realistically shaped muscular crochet dolls. The technique I used is similar to my realistic doll pattern that I made a while back, but this one has a more muscular body shape. In this part, I'll show you how to make the upper half of the doll's body. In the next part, I'll show you how to make the arms and how to start the lower body. And in the last part, I'll show you how to finish the body. Yeah, this is going to be a bit of a long one. Some things you'll need for this tutorial are a crochet hook, I'll be using a size E, a pair of scissors, a yarn needle. If you like, you could use a stitch marker or a bobby pin to keep track of the first stitch of your row. You'll need some eyes for your doll. I'll be using these yarn eyes that I made by tying a thick knot. If you want to see how I made these eyes, you can find a link for my yarn eyes tutorial in the description below, or you could also use safety eyes or animal eyes, or you could embroider eyes with yarn or thread. You'll also need some fiberfill, and I'm going to use craft wire to make a wire skeleton for my doll. You can find a link to my craft wire doll skeleton tutorial in the description below. You don't need to make a skeleton for your doll, but if you want to make a doll with a neck, I highly recommend that you use something to reinforce the neck so that the head doesn't droop. You'll need to make a skeleton with a 6-inch neck and spine, a 14-inch arm span with each arm being 7 inches long, placed 2.5 inches down from the top of the neck, and each leg being 8 inches long. And of course, you'll need yarn. I'll be using Cafe Latte from Red Heart brand, but you can use any Aran or worsted weight yarn in any color you choose. And if you would like a written version of this doll, I've made a pattern available in my Ravelry store, which can be found in the description below. I'm going to begin my work in the same way I did in my basic doll tutorial, with a double magic circle with 6 stitches of single crochet. If you want to see how I did this in more detail, check out my basic doll tutorial. You could start with a single magic circle, or just chain 3 and slip stitch to form a ring. Start in whichever way is most comfortable for you. Next, I need to increase to make the top of the head bigger, again the same way I did in my basic doll tutorial. I'm going to increase 6 times for every row, so I'll increase every stitch. So single crochet in the chain that counted as the first stitch, mark this stitch as the first stitch of the next row, then increase this stitch. Single crochet into the same stitch to increase, and I'm going to do that for every stitch of this row. So I've gotten to the end of my row, and I've removed the stitch marker and done the first stitch of the next row. So I'm going to increase the next row. Once again, I'm going to increase 6 times. So in this next row, I'll increase every second stitch. So single crochet 2 times into the next stitch, and I'm going to continue to increase every second stitch until I reach the end of this row. I'm going to do one more row of increase after this row. You can increase your work as much as you like if you want to make a bigger doll. Just continue to increase by the next number. In the next row you would increase every 3rd stitch, in the next you would increase every 4th stitch, then increase every 5th stitch, and so on. Just continue to increase until your work reaches the width you want for the head of your doll. Or if you want, you could increase for fewer rows for an even smaller doll. For my doll, I increased every 3rd stitch in my last row of increase. So I've gotten to the end of my next row of increasing every 3rd stitch. Now I'm going to continue to single crochet for 7 more rows to make the head longer. If you want, you could add more or less rows of single crochet depending on the size doll you're making. Just go on until you have the length you want for the face. Now I've gotten to the end of 7 more rows of single crochet, and now I'm going to add the eyes to the front of the face. Since the first stitch of my row is going to continue to drift from the back in this direction, I'm going to place the eyes a little closer to this side than exactly at the front middle of the face, so that the first stitch drifts more toward the middle back of the doll. And I'm going to sew some yarn eyes to my doll. You can find my doll eyes tutorial in the description below. If you want, you could use safety eyes or animal eyes or just embroider some eyes. It's up to you. And you don't have to do this, but once I'm done sewing in the eyes, I'm just going to tie a couple of the tails of each eye together a few times to bring the eyes closer together. This is going to shape the face a little bit. If you're going to do this, you should make sure the eyes are a little further spaced apart when you sew them on. Next, I'm going to begin to decrease each row to create the neck. I'm going to do the same thing I did to increase, but in reverse. So I'm going to do 6 decreases per row. When I was increasing at the top of the head, I last increased every 3rd stitch, so now I'm going to decrease every 3rd stitch. But you should decrease by whatever number you increased by at the top of the head. Depending on how big you make your doll, you may need to decrease for a few rows. Just continue to decrease each row by the next descending number. Like if your first row is decreased every 5th stitch, then the next would be decreased every 4th stitch, then every 3rd stitch, and so on. Just go on until your doll's neck reaches the desired width. So I've done the first stitch of my row, so I'm going to single crochet into the next stitch, And then I'm going to decrease the third stitch. So I'm going to insert my hook through the front loops of the next 2 stitches, pull up a loop through both stitches, and single crochet to decrease. And I'm going to continue to decrease every third stitch all the way around this row. Alright, I've reached the end of my first row of decrease. I need to do one more row of decrease, but I'm going to stop for now so that I can add hair to the doll. You can see how I did this in more detail in my short doll hair tutorial. Or if you want to give your doll longer hair, you should wait until the doll is finished to add the hair so that it doesn't get in the way as you work. Alright, I finished adding hair to the doll. Before I finish decreasing for the neck, I'm going to add some fiberfill to the head. And now I'm going to decrease for one more row. In this row, I'll decrease by the next descending number, so every second stitch of the row. This is going to be my last row of decrease, but if you made a bigger doll, or if you want a doll with a thinner neck, you could continue to decrease by the next descending number. Now I'm going to add a neck to my doll. This is entirely optional. If you want, you could just go straight into the body of your doll by skipping this step. To create my neck, I'm going to single crochet without any increase or decrease for 4 more rows. You could do more or less rows if you want a longer or shorter neck. It all depends on the look you want. Just go on until you reach the length you want. If you decrease the neck to only 6 stitches, you might want to increase every stitch of the row for 1 row, to widen the body, but I'm going to skip this step since I made my doll with a thicker neck. Now to increase for the shoulders, I'm going to increase 3 times per side where I want the shoulders to go. I'm going to do this for 4 rows, but you can go on for as long as you like until the shoulders of your doll are the right width. So here are my 3 increases. Now I'm going to single crochet until I get to the other side where I'm going to do 3 more increases. And I'm going to repeat that for 3 more rows. Alright, I finished increasing the shoulders each 3 times per row for a total of 4 rows. In this next row, I'm going to start to shape the muscles at the chest. But first I'm going to make the armholes, right under where I placed the shoulders. To do that, I'm going to skip some of the stitches on each side and make a chain so there's a hole in each side. So I'm going to continue to single crochet until I get to where I want the first armhole to go. For my doll, I single crocheted until 1 stitch before the increased stitches I made for the shoulder. And then I'm going to make a chain, and then skip a few stitches. I'm going to chain 6, and skip these 8 stitches at the side. And single crochet into the next stitch. If you're making a larger doll, you may want to skip and chain more stitches to make a larger armhole. You can go ahead and do that, just make sure to chain 2 less than you're skipping. Since I'm skipping 8 stitches, I chained 6. You could also skip and chain fewer to make a smaller armhole. And next, in between the armholes, I'm going to begin to create the muscles. I'm going to increase 3 per side at the front of the chest to make the muscles stand out more. To do this, I'm going to increase at the front only until the chest muscles reach the right size. For my doll, I'll only increase for 1 row. You could also increase as many as you like at the chest, depending on how prominent you want the muscles to be. For my doll, I'll increase 6 total times at the front of the work, placing 3 increases per side, with a regular single crochet in between. But if you want, you could increase fewer or more per side depending on the look you want. So first I'm going to single crochet 1 more until I get to where the muscle goes. Then increase the next 3 stitches, then single crochet 1 in between, and then increase the next 3 stitches. So I finished doing my 6 increases at the front of the row. Now I'm going to make the next armhole. First I'm going to single crochet 2 more until I get to where the other armhole goes. Once again, I'll place mine 1 stitch before the increased stitches I made at the shoulder. Then I'm going to repeat the same thing to make the other armhole, so chain 6, and skip the next 8 stitches. Then single crochet in the next stitch, and then single crochet until the end of the row. In the next row, I'm going to even out the row at the spot where I made the armholes. So first I'm going to single crochet until I get to the chains I made at the first armhole in the last row. And I'm going to skip the first chain to decrease that chain. And then to make up for the decrease, I'm going to increase each of the middle chains. Since I chained 6, that's going to be the 3rd and 4th chains. So single crochet in the next stitch until the 3rd and 4th chain. And increase into each of those stitches. Then single crochet until the last chain, which I'm also going to skip, to make up for that second increase. If you made a differently sized chain for the armhole, just make sure to skip the first and last chain and increase the 2 in the middle. And now in between the armholes, if you like, you could keep increasing the chest in the same way to make the muscles even larger, which you might want to do if you're making a larger doll. But my doll's muscles are already a good size for this doll, so I'm just going to do plain single crochets in between the armholes for this row, to elongate the chest muscles, until I reach the other armhole chains, where I'm going to do the same thing that I did on the other side. Skip the first chain, single crochet until the 2 middle chains, increase the 2 middle chains, single crochet until the last chain, then skip the last chain. Then single crochet until the end of the row. In this next row, I'm pretty much going to do the same thing. I'm going to continue shaping the armholes in this row, with a decrease on either side, and 2 increases in the middle. So I'm going to single crochet until I get to 1 stitch before the first increase I made at the armhole in the previous row. Then I'm going to decrease the next 2 stitches together. So I'm going to insert my hook through the front loops of the next 2 stitches, pull up a loop through both stitches, and single crochet to decrease. Then I'll increase the 2 stitches in the middle. And then decrease the last stitch of the increase and the next stitch together. And if you like, you could continue to increase at the chest if you're making larger muscles, but since I'm not, I'll continue to elongate the muscles with plain single crochets in between the armholes, until I reach the stitch before the increase of the next armhole, where I'm going to repeat what I did on the other side. Then single crochet until the end of the row. So I finished that last row. So far, to shape the chest, I've done 3 increases per side at the front, then 2 rows with plain single crochet at the front. In this next row, I'm going to end the first set of muscles at the chest by decreasing 3 times per side at the front of the body. So I'm just going to single crochet until I reach the front. Then I'll decrease 3 times per side with 1 single crochet in between. Then single crochet until the end of the row. If you added any extra rows of increase for the chest, you may want to continue to decrease the chest for several rows, but since I just increased the chest for one row, I don't need to decrease for any more rows. Next, I'm going to shape the waist of the doll while at the same time adding a few more muscles at the front of the body. I'll make the muscles in pretty much the same way. First, I'll increase 3 per side at the front of the body for a row. Then I'll do plain single crochet for a row to elongate the muscle. When I did the chest muscles, I elongated them for 2 rows. For the lower muscles, I'll only elongate them for 1 row to make them a bit shorter than the chest muscles. Then I'll do a row with 3 decreases per side to end the muscles. I'm going to repeat that twice at the front to make 2 more sets of muscles. But while I'm doing this, I'm also going to slim the waist of the doll at the same time. To do that, I'm going to decrease 2 per side at the sides of the body for 1 row, then single crochet normally at the side for 2 rows. And repeat that to gradually decrease the waist to the desired size. If you want, you could just do plain single crochet at the sides though if you don't want the waist size to change. Or you could increase instead to make the waist size get larger. Or if you want the increase or decrease to happen more or less gradually, you could increase or decrease more or less times. It all depends on the look you want. For row 1 of this step, at the sides of the body I decreased 2 per side, while at the same time increasing 3 per side at the front of the body. In row 2, I single crochet normally at both the sides of the body and the front of the body, so I did normal crochet for 1 row. For row 3, I single crochet normally at just the sides of the body, but I decreased 3 per side at the front of the body to end the first set of muscles. In row 4, I decreased 2 per side at the sides of the body, and at the same time I increased 3 per side at the front of the body to start the next set of muscles. In row 5, I did normal single crochet at both the sides and the front. And in row 6, I single crochet normally at the sides, but decreased 3 per side at the front of the body to end that set of muscles. Alright, so I finished with 2 more sets of muscles. I'm going to make 1 more set of muscles at the front of the body. So to make the last set of muscles, in row 1 of this step I increased 3 per side at the front of the body, in row 2, I did plain single crochet with no increase or decrease throughout the row. And in row 3 of this step, I decreased 3 per side at the front of the body to end the muscles. This completes the muscles at the stomach. Now to finish the stomach, I'm going to single crochet for 2 more rows until the upper body is a good length. If you want, you could increase a few times per side at the same time to make a doll with wider hips, but I'm not going to do that for this doll. So I'm just going to keep single crocheting for 2 more rows. Okay, I've gotten to the end of 2 more rows with single crochet, and now the upper body is done. This tutorial is starting to get long though, so let's continue in the next video. If you liked this part, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell so that you don't miss the next part. I'll see you all there, bye!